What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so much for being here. Thank you for checking out my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. If you want to send a tip because you enjoy this kind of content and you've been loving it for years or something like this. Thank you for checking out the new Breathe video. It's super dope. I'm very, very excited about it. It came out really excellently, and so if you've had some trouble with the timing or anything like that, or it's just kind of fun to watch, it's kind of mesmerizing to check it out. So that's out on YouTube. There's a link in my bio about that. Just like all the rest of my work is free, so check that out if you would. You can also check out the music, just the audio, on Spotify, Tidal, Pandora. You can also check out Can't Help Myself there. There should be some new music coming out in May, hopefully. I hope to be able to make that happen. And then there's some next music coming after that as well. So I'm very excited. Big things are going on. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. I have wasted enough time. Speaking of wasting time, you know who's doing that this week? Mercury fucking retrograde. Mercury is as retrograde as possible right now, and it is really going on out here. I thankfully have a new microphone, so you can probably hear me now, but there's been a lot of this sort of stuff, like equipment failures and these kinds of things, right? So this week, Mercury is going to hit that Cazimi point. So that's the deepest part of the retrograde. If we think about the Mercury retrograde, or any retrograde really, but especially Mercury and Venus, they go down through underneath the sun, right? And so there's this underworld journey that takes place, and it's kind of purifying, and the sun sort of burns off all the dross and this kind of thing, right? So Mercury is going to hit that point with the sun this week. It's that it's this moment of clarity or something like this, especially if you're in a Mercury retrograde haze or confusion, then there might be a point where it's oh, this is the thing, and we got to turn towards this direction. And so you're not out of the underworld situation yet, but after that point, things begin to look up, and we start to move. There's a upward kind of trajectory with it. And so that is really, I'm hopeful for that this week, because it's really been nutty out here, and I'm trying to be doing studio sessions in a recording studio and this kind of thing, and we spend a lot of time troubleshooting. So that sort of stuff looks like it can be, it can at least sort of push in a helpful direction this week. Now, really, what we're sort of headed toward this week, the big news this week, is that we've got this eclipse at the end of the week. That's going to be happening on Friday. So this eclipse is in Scorpio. It's our last Scorpio eclipse in this cycle. We just had an eclipse 2 weeks ago that was in Aries. So this is 2 Mars-ruled eclipses, right? And so this one is on the South Node. It is, whenever we see the South Node, it wants to do less of something, it wants to get rid of things. Whatever has been going on in Scorpio has been trying to get released for a little while. We've really been can we just push this thing out? Can we get rid of it? Can we purge? It might be a good time to do some kind of ceremonial letting go, like a cord cutting ceremony or something like this. You might be able to do some kind of, one of my favorite things is to imagine, just visualize an opening hand. I think that is something that can be super helpful and thought provoking to do. You can always do something like a sweat lodge or a puke or something like this as well, these kinds of things on the South Node. That makes sense here. Now, if you are going to do some of that body stuff, be aware that this is also going to be opposite to Uranus, right? So Uranus is there in Taurus, and so this eclipse is happening at 15 degrees of Scorpio. Uranus is currently at 16 degrees of Taurus. So that is going to be Uranus is the planet of surprises and unexpected things and chaos and disruption and this kind of thing. So be careful, watch for things to go left, because that can happen, especially with that Uranus there. And that's part of what eclipses are. So one of the things that like comes up every 6 months is that like, should I be manifesting things during the eclipse? Should I not be manifesting things during the eclipse, right? And so there are two main camps on that. There's the one camp, which is like, this is a portal. This is super powerful astrological energy. I'm gonna like get in on this moment. And there's the other camp that sort of like, has been reading the traditional texts, and they're like, stay out of the baleful rays. Like, the sun is going to be eclipsed, or maybe the moon is going to be eclipsed. There's going to be a shadow there. So the life-giving vitality that is associated with that is going to be in shadow. And so you don't have access to that anymore. Another way that I like to think about it with eclipses is like, eclipses are associated with dragons, right? And so the south node is the tail of the dragon. And so that tail bit is part of where this like purging stuff comes in, right? Like get evacuation and doing less of the thing. The north node is considered the head of the dragon in some traditions. And so with this kind of thing in mind, it's good to remember that your arms are too short to box with dragons, okay? Like, you are not going to, by like making your little sigil statement and dancing in the moonlight or something like this, you are not going to put a harness on a dragon and then command it to do as you wish. That's not what dragons do. You do not have that kind of authority. And this is coming from someone who believes that like, you can have what you want. You can do what you want in the world. You are divinely sovereign and all of this, right? So are dragons, and they are very powerful. And so if you are going to do some kind of like manifestation or something like this, which is a whole thing, right? Like, shout out to Cameron Allen, who comes on my podcast every 3 months, and we talk about like, we do a forecast for the quarter ahead. He is big on eclipse stuff and nodal kind of things, right? And so like, and I'm not, I don't have the authority to tell him not to do whatever he wants to do. The same way I don't have the authority to tell you not to do whatever you want to do. Do what you want to do with the eclipses, right? But beware that that it's big. It's maybe bigger than can fit into your hand. And so especially with that Uranus there as well, like, it looks like something surprising wants to take place here. And so, just like maybe have a little bit of humility about it. Speaking of humility, one thing that is going to be bad for humility this week is that Venus in Gemini is going to make a square to Neptune in Pisces. So Venus in Gemini has been, bringing some fun and some social stuff to Gemini. Gemini had such a rough time there for a while with that Mars retrograde back and forth, and then Saturn moved in to square all your Gemini shit, and it's like, I don't know if I like it, right? And then Venus is there, and there's some fun to be had. There's some sweetness, or some, whenever I think about Venus in Gemini, I think about the social butterfly. I think about like going around and like kind of cross-pollinating and checking out different ideas and talking about it and all the things, right? It's like there's a kind of a party that can go on there, right? And so Neptune in Pisces, Neptune is in Venus's exaltation and very close to the degree of Venus's exaltation also. And so they look like they want to go together here. This looks really good for glamour. It looks really good for maybe going to a social event and impressing other people, or, like making a larger than life kind of like feeling about who you are as a person. This might be a tough time to, like, if you're trying to get into like a long-term relationship or something like this, then this might not be the wave for that kind of situation, because it might overinflate things. It might generate some expectations that are not going to be met later, or something like this. It does look like a lot of fun, so especially in the like party environment or something like this, then this might be fun. Or even in a partnered situation, right? Venus always wants to be like relational. It wants to like deal with how we navigate relationships with other people and this kind of thing. Even in a one-on-one environment, it can be a lot of fun. There can be like some escapist pleasure there, and I'm here for that. I'm 100% here for that. But we maybe don't want to base a long-term future on the feelings that we get in this moment. This is a really nice time to have some nice feelings, And you know, like it looks super creative as well, especially if you're like doing poetry or song or something like this. This looks like a really good time to write some lyrics, but maybe not, you know, build a life around it. Anyway, I'm out of time. Check it out later.